Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy 420, where today we have some exciting blockbuster news we are going to be discussing, and that will be the signing of Manny Machado. He is going to the San Diego Padres for a reported 10 years and $300 million with an important opt-out clause after 5 seasons. And I have some winners and losers of that deal. And without further ado, let's get started. I think the biggest winner of the deal is probably in real life Manny Machado. He gets the most money in American sports history, so he's really happy. Um, I love the opt out clause after 5 seasons for him because the Padres have been terrible for so long. And while they have a really young farm system and him to work with, if they don't figure it out, he has time to still optimize one more deal and maybe go after a contender. So that's really important. But it also is long enough of a deal where, in time after 5 years, where it doesn't hold the franchise hostage. I mean, in the NBA especially, the players love to sign these short-term deals to hold the team accountable for moves they make and make sure they're playing for a contender. But this strikes a good balance of him making money and being happy and making the team contend in the immediate future while he's there. And they could have a dynasty, but at the same time, if everything goes bad, he has a emergency opt-out. So I love that deal all around for Machado. It's also surprisingly a really good thing for Bryce Harper. He could sign in San Diego as well and give them an incredible 1-2 with Machado and Harper in that farm system if the Padres want to go really crazy. But I think it's more likely that he leverages this deal to get himself more money. I think the Phillies losing out especially are going to make them more desperate for Harper. So he could turn this into more money for him and probably over $350 million total now that he is the second one to sign out of those two. So I really like the deal for Harper. Opens everything up for him and gives him all the leverage for all the teams now who wanted to sign him, and especially the ones who missed out on Machado. I also really like the deal for the San Diego Padres. It was a lot of money, and there is some risk with Machado because of personality issues, not hustling and whatnot. But when you're a last place team for so long, when you sign a generational talent to boon your lineup, and you lost nothing, you have a top farm system, and you just sign him as a free agent outright, you lose nothing for him. I got to think you're a pretty big winner regardless. I do believe Machado is worth the money, even though he has those personality issues. He's 26 years old. He already has World Series experience, multi-time All-Star, one of the best players in the game. I just love the move, even though you're giving up currently the most money in American sports history worth. You use this year as your diving board season to get him ingratiated in the team. Then you move those guys up at the end of the year in your farm system when you move out of contention. I do believe at the start of the year they'll try, and then at the end of the year they'll level off and bring up those players and give them their experience. So as early as next year, 2020, they could be in a playoff spot. Honestly, with the Giants and the Diamondbacks in arguably a full rebuild, and I think the Dodgers are heading there, if not already there, with as much they've lost this offseason. They will be dunking in 2020, whereas other teams will be fading away. I kind of it's similar to the Browns in football, where the Ravens, Steelers, and Bengals are getting older and moving on, while they're the young and up and coming team. So this is really a diving board move for this year. And then in 2020, they could be the start of an NL West dynasty with Machado and all those players. And if they signed Harper, man, they could be dominating, like I said, dominating that division for the next 10 years. They're looking really good for the future. So I love it for the Padres overall. Finally, just a couple more people I think this will help. Eric Hosmer signed a huge deal with San Diego last offseason, was a little bit underwhelming in the numbers. People panned the deal. I think this will be a little bit more of protection for him. We'll see a little bit more of resurgence in numbers. And I love this deal for Hosmer. I'd move him up in the rankings now. And I think this is also good for Troy Tulowitzki. If you missed out on all your shortstops and want to spend a late round flyer on him, he could boom really hard and now doesn't have Machado to worry about with shortstops. And also the other Yankees in the lineup in general. I would have argued if Machado had signed there, you might have moved those other guys down just because there wouldn't be enough numbers to go around. But I think that with Machado not signing there, I'd move up guys like Hicks, Judge, Stanton. All those guys are going to have to produce that much more now that Machado won't be there. And I still think they're a World Series contending team, so I'd move up those other Yankees. Finally, the losers. I do think, obviously, the biggest loser, which is unfortunate, is Manny Machado's 2019 fantasy value. If he had signed with the Yankees or Phillies, like I said in the shortstop preview, you probably would have gotten Machado at the middle of round 2 and then early first round value. I would have predicted him going off in one of those lineups in one of those stadiums. Now, unfortunately, I don't think the Padres are going to be contending this year, and Petco Park does hurt home run totals, so I would move Machado down. I still think he's going to be a first round player, maybe early second round player, but I do think his upside is now limited, and it's unfortunate he could for this year. Although I do think it's a good upswing in the future for the Padres if everything goes well. For his fantasy value, I do think this year it took a hit. The Dodgers are the biggest losers overall. They went in on him last year for a World Series run. They missed out. They traded prospects for him, and now he goes to a division opponent. I have to say they're huge time losers. And like I said, I'm not sure how much longer they're going to be making the playoffs. It might be this year and done. They might lose out to Colorado now with Machado not coming back. I don't know, but it's just not good for the Dodgers looking forward. The Phillies, obviously losers. They prize Machado more than Harper, according to reports. Now they're going to probably have to pay Harper more to get him there. And they might not even get him there. Harper has a bunch of other suitors. So the Phillies could lose out on both, and that would be really bad for their offseason. And they will probably overpay for worse players to overcome that if that's the case, and that would just not be very good. So I got to say the Phillies are losers. And finally, to a lesser extent, I would say the Yankees, they did miss out on their target. But like I said, they have the talent more than the Phillies to overcome. And I do think that they're less losers. But anybody who didn't sign Machado and was looking to sign him, they lost out. And I got to put the Yankees in there. That's going to be it for today's video, guys. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow and hope you have a great day. This was a huge move, and I think it warranted its own video, but I'll be back tomorrow with most likely starting pitchers. See you then.